Hi, I hope I'm audible and visible to all of you. Hi, Gokul, how are you doing?
Very good, Rohas. Thank you so much.
Awesome. So today we're going to talk about a very exciting product that we're releasing today. It's called as Blockchain-Proof, and it is the fastest and safest way to protect all your digital assets and intellectual property. Hi, I'm Rohas Nagpal, Chief Blockchain Architect of the HYFI Blockchain.
Hi, I'm Gogul Narayan. Welcome everyone to this product launch. I'm the CEO of Asian School of Cyber Laws, and it's my great pleasure to welcome all of you to the launch of the ASCL Blockchain Proof. It's a cutting edge yet incredibly simple tool to secure your digital assets and create and protect your digital assets in less time than it takes to brew a cup of tea. And that's what we're hoping we would be able to impress all of you with. So I'll be your host and moderator for this conversation. And Rohas is the chief architect of this product, and we'll try and pick his brains on how we've managed to make this slightly difficult concept extremely easy, simple, and easy to use. So let's get started. Rohas, just as an introduction, what is the ASCL blockchain proof?
Sure. So, what happens is when we talk, let's say we talk about a confidential document. Let's say you're making a non-disclosure agreement. Now, in that non-disclosure agreement, you say that I'm going to hand over certain confidential data to the other party and they will not disclose it. Otherwise, these are the penalties. The
Right.
problem is, what is that confidential data? You can briefly describe it, but obviously you cannot put that confidential data in the NDA because that
Correct.
defeats the whole purpose. The whole world will read it. But tomorrow,
Correct.
if you need to litigate on this, how are you even going to prove what that confidential data was? Now imagine that if you could generate a 64 character hash of that confidential data, which may be in a PDF or any kind of document, that hash, nobody can look at the hash and figure out what the origin was. Whether that was a video, a PDF, a 1,000 page document, nobody knows. But that hash, along with some information, which I'm going to show you how it works, would be stored on the blockchain forever.
Okay.
And 10 years down the line, also, if you want to prove in a court of law what was the data that we were referring to, that can be done simply by entering that hash again, getting the verification data, and showing the court of law this was that original document whose hash had been saved 10 years ago. And that's the core subject matter of the issue that we are talking about. That's kind of how the whole idea started. And then
Okay.
once we realized that this makes sense for confidential data, we realized it can also serve as some kind of a substitute for copyright registration.
Correct.
Now, most people, we why do we get a copyright registration? It's basically not a legal necessity, but because you have copyright the moment you create something unique, something
Correct.
original. But tomorrow, again, going to a court and proving who came out with this thing before. How do you prove that? Like, on Instagram, there are these really funny videos in which there are animals and then someone puts a voiceover behind and makes a really funny thing about what the animals are talking to each other. But surprisingly, that exact same video, six different people are now putting up. Now, the question is the guy who put it up first, how is he ever going to prove that this was my original work which somebody else has copied? Right.
Correct.
So now that person, for example, could upload the hash of the video on the blockchain and then tomorrow take anyone to court who copies his video. So a lot of people come, they copy the video, they just add their own name and they start putting it up on Instagram. Again, that gets huge number of views. But that's so
Correct.
unfair to the guy who first created it. So even
Absolutely.
they could use something like this.
So we can go into the various use cases of where all we have thought of applying this solution to. But before we jump into that, because that's a very long and elaborate conversation, can you just take us through a step-by-step guide of how this process works and how easy it is that we've made for people to come and save their work on our platform?
Absolutely. So let me start with that. Let me just share my screen. I hope my screen is visible to all of you.
Yes.
Okay. So, firstly, when we say blockchain proof, there are four very important things that we need to understand. That firstly, anything you do here is tamper proof. That means once you've recorded this, the proof cannot be altered or deleted. Even you can't change that. You cannot delete it because it's getting stored on the blockchain. Secondly, it is privacy focused. So your content is never going to be stored by us. We are not going to touch it. We are not even going to be able to see it. Only the hash comes to us and goes onto the chain. It is instant and cost effective, just costs very little money, and there's no paperwork, no waiting. It's within seconds, the whole thing is done. and it's globally verifiable, which means anybody can verify it without needing to even log in somewhere. You just need, I'll show you, just share the certificate with anyone or share a link with someone without logging in, also they can validate the proof. Now, to use this system, there are 3 steps. So the first step is we are going to register for an account, right? After we register for that account, we are going to buy credits to pay for the proof, and finally we are going to proof it. So let me just quickly walk you through. Now, the first step is that you need to
Just
create
one second.
your credentials. Yeah.
Sorry, before you jump into that, if very quickly you could just take a second to try and explain to our audience what that hash is that you're talking about.
I'm going to show that soon.
Yeah,
I'm going to show that very soon. So I'll come to it very shortly. So first, let's create an identity for ourselves. So consider it like your username. So you have a dot proof name. So here you could enter whatever you want. So suppose you are Mumbai. So you just write Mumbai.proof and you just click this button. And the moment you do that, if nobody else has registered it before, it shows up here. So it says that, okay, your name is Mumbai.proof. So that's going to be like your username. And this is your passcode. Now, I'm not going to use this one. So anybody who's watching it, feel free to take this particular one, change the passcode, and it's yours. But remember that when you generate this, use this copy button or email it to yourself or WhatsApp it to yourself. Because there is no way for us to reset a password here. So once you generate these credentials, please do not lose them. You can always change your passcode in the future, but if you forget it, there is no way we can recover it for you.
you'll just have
Now,
to create a new ID, I'm presuming.
yeah, but then you would end up losing access to
Losing
whatever
all the
else.
content. Correct.
Yeah. I mean, the hashes and proofs will remain as long as you have the links, no problem. But yeah, you'll have to start all over again. So once you've got this username and password, you are going to, sorry, uh, just give me a second. I've got too many pages opened here. Yeah. So once you've done that, you can buy the credits. I'm so sorry. Give me just 1 second. I've got too many screens open. Yep, here it goes. So the second thing is you buy the credit. So as of right now, there's an inaugural offer. So it's just 399 rupees per credit. You can choose how many you want to buy. So
Correct.
depending upon how many proofs you want to create, you can keep adding that number here. The total shows, and you can instantly pay and start using it. Now, once you've got the credits, you can log in. So you just enter your proof, enter your passcode here, and then you're going to land up on a page which looks like this. Now, obviously, we've already created one as a demo, but when you log in for the first time, something like this would be visible to you, where it would explain to you how the system is going to work. And the first thing that you're going to realize here is it says download the hash calculator file to your device. Now, even if you've never heard of the word hash before, don't worry, I'm going to explain it to you in a very simple manner. When you download this file, this is what it looks like. Now, I want you to pay attention to the fact that this is running on your local machine, whether it's your phone or your laptop. It is not connected to the internet. So you have no worry that, this document of yours that you're hashing, it may go to someone else or it may get uploaded to the blockchain or to the website. Not at all. If you are absolutely paranoid, you can switch off your internet at this stage once you've downloaded this file, and then you can click and select whatever file you want to hash. So let's say this is a SQL file, right? I just click on it and instantly it generates the hash here. In fact, that also shows you that this is happening offline because even a 100 MB file would get hashed in a second.
Correct.
So again, the file remains with you. This hash generator is on your local machine. It simply calculates the hash, which you can then copy and go back and create your proof. Even if you forget to copy this right now, you can refresh, you can again upload that same file. It will always give the same hash. And this is an SHA 256 hash, which is one of the hashes recognized by the Indian law also. Gokul, if there are any questions, feel free to
So,
ask.
just to explain in terms of what this hash value is, and in the context of the content that has been uploaded by the user, if you could just explain in short what the hash value is and how the concept of immutability comes in over here.
Sure. So a hash is considered to be one way, which basically means that we take any original input, we run it through a mathematical formula called a hash function, and it generates this output for us. but it is called one way. That means every time you use the same document, you will get that hash. But when you look at that hash, you cannot calculate the original document. So whether it's a 100 MB video file, a one-page text document, or a programming, let's say a PHP file, any input would give you a 64 character output because we're using SHA 256 in this example.
Correct.
But every time the document is different, or even if there's a one comma change in a document, the hash changes, which is why hashes are considered to be provable proof of a particular input. And that's why
Correct.
the Indian law also recognizes hash functions for digital signatures. And when you file your returns online, you are again using hash functions without even realizing it. And globally, everybody uses hash functions.
Correct. So we can move on, Rohit, so that once they see the certificate, we will have more questions, and then we can throw it open to the audience as well.
Sure. So now we've downloaded the hash calculator, we've generated the hash. Then we now have to copy that hash and paste it into this form below. Now, here is what the form looks like. You're going to put four things. Firstly, you're going to put this hash that we just calculated. Now, second, you're going to write the name of the relevant person or entity. Because what you're trying to do here is you're trying to prove in the future that I'm the one who first created this content. So you
Correct.
need to identify yourself. So you could write your name or an organization's name. But now, what if there are two people with the same name? Now, that doesn't happen to someone called Ruas Nagpal. I'm the only one in the world with that. But I'm sure, Gokul, you've met people who have the exact same name as yours. So,
Absolutely.
in fact, that's why if you look in agreements and contracts, we always write father's name, address, so that you uniquely identify a person. So, similarly, here you need to enter some identifiers, maybe an email address, a phone number, a passport, a PAN number, anything. The more data you add here, the better. It should be provable that I am the one we are talking about. And then you give a short overview of this particular document. Like, what is it all about? So you're just briefly explaining, okay, this is an idea I had about so and so thing, or this is a book I've written on it, or this is an Instagram reel I've created, whatever. And then you would click on generate proof. That's all that you would need to do. Now, because the system is live, I'm not creating an artificial document here. I'll show you what a real document would look like. Now, the moment you get that, you click this generate proof button, then on this page, it would immediately show you the proofs that you've created. So now the first one, we've created this. It says that this is a book entitled Copyright Law and Cyberspace. It is part of the official curriculum of the Intellectual Property Rights Specialization course by Asian School of Cyber Law.
Yeah.
This is the timestamp. So it was done today and the timing is given. Now, if you click on this button, it shows you the details of the whole document. So you see that this was the hash. Then, because it hit the blockchain, it generated a proof ID. You can see that. Then it shows you the timestamp. It shows you the creator's name, like I said, Asian School of Cyber Laws. Then they've given some identifiers. So they've given a URL, an email address, and Shuchi Nagpal CEO. So maybe she's the one who created this. So that's also entered. And then there is a description of this. And then if you want to see the transaction ID, so if you are from the tech world and you want to see, okay, what does this look on the chain? You would click on this and it would open up on the HYFI Blockchain Explorer and you would see that also. Then it tells you that if you want to add information about this in any legal contract, then you could simply copy this part. So this says that the proof of the intellectual property referred to in this document is securely recorded on the HYFI blockchain with this ID, and there's a URL given. Now, anybody in the world who has this URL without needing to log in would end up on this exact page and would be able to verify the hash. Now, also, if you notice here, this was the blue button we clicked to open this thing off. And if you click on the green one, then a PDF report gets created. So this says, okay, blockchain proof, and then you can read everything. It mentioned that the proof of the intellectual property is here. This is the file hash, the proof ID, the timestamp, the creator's name, creator's identifier, and the file description. And here again, there's that same link. If you click here, it'll open up the details in the Blockchain Explorer. And for example, Asian School has already added this to their PDF. So they took the PDF, they hashed it, they stored the hash on the blockchain, got the proof details, and then added it on the second page of this PDF. So it becomes very simple for you to add proof of your intellectual property within your document also. So for certain kinds of things, you may prefer to use a link Like let's say in a video, maybe certain things you may prefer to use a PDF certificate, totally up to you, depending on the kind of data that you're protecting. Any questions,
So,
Gokul?
yeah, Rohit, so just to clarify to our audience,
Mhm.
if you have created some content, for example, a year or two ago, the the model works in such a manner that the date on which you upload is the date that gets recorded on the blockchain, not this would work more effectively for content that is put up on the blockchain as soon as you create it. The sooner you put it up on the blockchain, the sooner you get it registered, the sooner you put it up in that sequence, the better it is. Have I
Absolutely,
seen
because
that?
it's timestamped, and the timestamp is taken at the precise millisecond that you hit the chain. So
Correct.
that's the time that gets recorded. You may have created this information years ago, but the only thing that we can record is when did you actually upload it on the chain. Similar to a copyright registration where the date is critical.
Correct. So, in terms of use cases, I can already see and I can tell my audience that we've tried it out and tested it out in terms of how simple it is to use and how quick it is to actually implement any of these solutions. So we tried it out with a photograph, for example. I just went out in my balcony, clicked a photograph, downloaded it into the system. Please remember, this is extremely critical for you to understand that we don't own or we don't take control of any of the content that you have generated. Everything that happens on your device, whether you're accessing it through your mobile phone, whether you're accessing it through the laptop that you're on. The hash is the only thing that we record onto the blockchain system. Now, Rohas, in this context, what are the kind of use cases that we can talk about to explain to our audience where all we see this application happening?
Sure. Let me just quickly share my screen again. Okay. So the first place you could use this is in creative and digital content. That's something which I feel today is the most important for everyone.
Yeah.
Now, we made a list here. So, for example, you could use it for social media content like Instagram Reels or a YouTube short, LinkedIn post, TikToks. See, because once something goes viral, a lot of people start copying it.
Yeah.
Now, how are you ever going to and how are you going to stop other people from using your content? So, for example, your video went viral on YouTube, someone downloaded and put it up on Instagram. How are you ever going to prove in a court of law you actually created the original? So, for social media content, that's one of I feel one of the best use cases today. Then digital art, NFTs, as well as AI generated images. So, even in an AI generated image, you get the copyright, or it depends on the terms of the AI platform, but usually
Correct.
creator gets that. You can protect that. Videos, films, scripts, animations, your website or UI UX for your mobile and other applications, an ebook or a research paper, blogs, articles, music, lyrics, photography, you name it, any kind of creative and digital content gets covered. You can also use it for your business, legal, and financial document. So, for example, the use case that actually got us working in this direction was a business idea or a trade
Yeah.
secret. Before you pitch it to an investor or a partner, you could put it down, type it out into a document, proof that document, and then start sharing your idea with people so that you always have some kind of an evidence that I'm the one who originally came out with this idea. And that's where the non-disclosure agreement, confidentiality agreement fits in. You can use it in any legal contract and financial and investment records. Any questions so far?
No, Rohit, I'll have questions about to help
Sure.
you answer questions about how this works.
Sure. And then you could use it for tech and software. So source code being a very good use case. So I'm a developer also. And when we write source code, it's very difficult to actually protect it. And we don't want to give our source code to any copyright authority to prove in the future that that was ours. So we could take our source code, create the hash, and simply prove that. And then if anyone tries to copy our source code, we have very solid legal evidence that we were the ones who first created it. You could use the same thing for algorithms, AI models, and data sets. Data sets are a very big intellectual property today. Databases, log files, cybersecurity log, even digital evidence. The police, when they seize a hard disk, they take a digital clone of that, they hash it, and that hash can be stored on the chain so that even years later you can prove that this is the original data that was seized at the crime scene, for example. And finally, for research, education, and scientific work. So whether it's an academic paper, a research finding, patent related documents, your
Yeah.
PhD thesis, dissertations, engineering blueprints, medical study, clinical trials, anywhere you could use this.
So Rohas, just to run it by the audience again, if you can just think of a situation. Let's presume that there's a situation where we've put this up in the form of a legal document as proof. Can we just Is it possible to do a live where somebody clicks on a link and it opens up the proof and it shows it to them?
Yes. So again, let me just share my screen. Give me a second.
I just want the audience to see and understand how easy it would be for people to go and establish ownership of content that they have created, and how simple at the a click of a button.
Sure. So, for example, every time when you've created a proof, this kind of a document opens up, right? Sorry. So, what you could do is this is the link that you have to share with anyone. And when they enter that link into their browser, without needing to log in, this would open up. So, the link which you have, you could email it to someone, you could send it on WhatsApp. And the moment they click on it, whether it's a court of law, whether it's an individual, it's anyone, this exact thing, what you can see in front of you, would open up.
And how does this system in itself ensure that this becomes tamper-proof and therefore stands the test of time, irrespective of when you use it? It's always a timestamp of what you've created.
So what happens is legally courts have also recognized the immutability of blockchain. So the way blockchain technology has developed, the main reason for the popularity and growth of blockchains is immutability. It is provably immutable in a court of law that anything on the blockchain has not been tampered with. So if you've heard of the Bitcoin revolution and why that's such a success, owes its success to the blockchain technology. And because blockchains run on hash functions, which are legally recognized, automatically courts give that value that, okay, if this data is stored on the blockchain, then it is provably immutable. And the beauty of blockchain is anybody can set up a node. So for example, you don't need to rely on a third party. You can say, okay, I will run my own node. The moment you create your own node and connect it to the HYFI blockchain, all this data of proofs comes to your node also, which you could run on your laptop, by the way. So all this information about all the hashes and the description of the hashes, that data even comes on your system.
Correct. So just to sum it all up for everybody, it can be created. The use cases that Rohas and I are talking about are what we have intended or thought about, but the application could be much bigger than what we have contemplated as of right now. It is work in progress in terms of applicability and the far-reaching applications of this concept. But please remember, the content does not come onto us. The content remains with you. What we are allowing you to do is create a timestamp and create a proof of creation of the content that you've generated in a manner in which anybody at any point of time, without having the need to log in to authenticate themselves, prove the fact that you own this as per the content that you have stored onto our server. Rohas, I think this is a good time to try and throw it open to the audience in case they have any questions. I am unable to see any questions because I'm logged in as a user. Are you able to see any questions that anybody has?
Yes, and I can see that Shuchi has already been answering them. So if there's anything which is there any limit on the size of the file? Sure, very good question. No, there is no limit on the file. So because that file is not getting stored anywhere, the file remains on your local system and you're generating the hash on your local system. So even if it goes into many GBs, it doesn't matter at all. The hash is still going to be 64 character and it's still going to take you barely a second to generate that hash.
In any case, it would only be, I'm presuming, restricted by the computing ability of your own device. If you're trying to do it from a mobile phone and it's a really huge really huge content running into multiple GBs, calculating the hash on it
still doesn't take more than a second or two. I've tried all that. It still wouldn't take more than a second or two.
Okay.
Okay, so interesting question about which is stronger, copyright or blockchain. So that's a very tough question to answer because a copyright registration is firstly done by the legal authority or the regulator in your country. Secondly, for getting that copyright, there's a long time period that goes and you have to submit the original. Now, that is the single most important thing for you to remember. If you are comfortable with submitting the original, whether that's your book or movie or whatever, if you're okay with submitting the original, paying the fee, which is a little more obviously than what the proof costs, and it takes a few months, on the other hand, you not disclose the content. The fees is much lower and it takes just a few seconds. So it's a decision you would take based upon this. If disclosing that data is not something you want to do, then there is no choice. Then blockchain is the only way to go. If disclosing that data is okay with you, then take into consideration the time period and the paperwork required.
Correct.
And that is how you would make your decision.
So conceptually, things like which are not protected in India, like trade secrets, could still be brought onto this platform and protected, which would not happen under any legal framework in India.
There's another interesting question. What if a non-owner registers before the owner? So that's a very good point. That is why it's important for you to register it as fast as you create something new. Because see, you've just created it. Now, unless you give it to someone, how are they even going to get it? But yes, if you already circulated it to people and somebody goes and registers it, then, well, kind of the evidence is in their favor. But I would give you another idea for this, that whenever you create these documents, write some line or two inside that about you. So even though that's a PDF, in the PDF, you must write a line or two saying who invented or who described or who wrote this PDF and when. So that even if someone else registers the hash, the original document still has your name within it. So that's something definitely you could do. How about trade secret in blockchain? So again, like I said, it's a trade secret, confidential data, non-disclosure agreement. All that's going on chain is your hash. Your trade secret remains safe with you. Awesome. Okay. I think someone says Google already asked his question, and I can think Shuchi has answered most of them. So we give it another minute or so. If there are more questions, we'll take them. Otherwise, kind of done for the day.
Yeah. So we've kept the pricing such that we want all of you to try this out. We want you to experiment with it. Please share with us your feedback in terms of what you've liked about the ease of use, because the primary purpose with which we've created this is that it should be done in a jiffy. That's what we're working with. We don't want you to go through the rigmarole of going through a legal system of trying to register your creation. And if you have suggestions on how we can make this better, make this more user-friendly for you to try and access, please feel free to reach out to us. Our email IDs will be provided. We're accepting all feedback on info@asianlaws.org, but we'll share all of that with you so that you can get back to us in terms of how you think we could improve on this system, the current existing system we've created.
I can see a couple of interesting questions, but before I answer them, I wanted to share with you. So before we even went live with this session, a friend of mine has registered his proof, and I'll tell you the reason behind it. So he's used AI, artificial intelligence, to create a very interesting book on the Bhagavad Gita aimed towards children and with a lot of images and content created by AI. Now, he actually applied for copyright registration in India and it was rejected, saying, you are mentioning that this was created by an AI, but we need a human being to be the creator. Only then we can give the copyright. So his copyright application got rejected. And that's when he realized that such kind of content cannot be copyrighted under the conventional system. So he went for proof. So that becomes a use case very interesting, because a lot of people today are using AI to generate content. Now, when AI is the author and not a human being, conventional copyright will not be available to you. So again, there blockchain becomes the only option. Okay, actually, there's a huge bunch of questions. So let me, okay. As a lawyer, how do I advise my client about when to choose blockchain or not? So like I answered, I think we've already covered that. If you do not want to disclose the original to the copyright authorities, you would use this. If AI is the generator of your content, you would use this. In any other case, you would take a choice depending on the circumstances.
And most importantly, ease of use. Ease of use. If you want to get this done quickly, if you want to get it done immediately, you would use this product.
Somebody wanted to know, okay, the question seems to have vanished. Biggest scalability issues. So what is actually getting stored on the blockchain is just a few KBs of data, which is the hash and the identifier and other things. So it's 64 characters of a hash, 64 characters of a name, I think 128 characters of an identifier, and 256 characters of the description. That's the only amount that goes, not the GBs of the file. So scalability is not an issue. You could store millions of records and it would barely cover MBs. So scalability is not the issue. Can brands or logos already TM registered leverage HYFI for registering their corporate brand or logo? So if you're talking about trademark, then no, because trademark mandatorily has to happen with the authorities only. This would work for copyrights, or if you want to prove that you generated a particular logo before anyone else did, fine. But this is not a substitute for trademark at all. Does this work as a proof of actual ownership or a proof of who is first in there? It is only first in the eyes of the law. Even in copyright, it's first in the eyes of the law. I mean, somebody could take your content and register the copyright, and you didn't even realize that has done that. So,
Correct.
just like conventional copyright cannot actually figure out anything, other was the first person to apply. It's the same case here. Can source code for software or applications be registered? Absolutely. That is one of the best use cases. And we've already discussed that at grep. It can be done. How tenable will this be in the court of law? Okay. So that's a very good question. We've just launched the product today. But considering the fact that the Information Technology Act talks about hashes, we're using the same hash function there, and blockchains globally are recognized. Obviously, we will wait for the first time that a court actually talks about this issue. But I don't think there's any problem from the legal point. We've consulted a lot of legal experts on this. How does cryptographing hashing work on the blockchain? Very similar to the way it works in any other conventional technology. And in fact, blockchains also use kind of the same hash functions that we conventionally use. Okay, I think we've answered most of the questions.
Rohas, just one aspect relating to the B name and in terms of uploading all the content that you create and its accessibility in one space. Would you want to clarify that aspect as well?
So
for example,
when you create, yeah, tell me what exactly you mean.
So, for example, if I have created a B name g.narayan g.narayan@proof. G.narayan.proof is something that I've created. Now, I have multiple proofs that I want for multiple documents and its accessibility in one place.
So you can create unlimited documents. So you create one ID, it's like one account you've created. So now let's take an account of Gmail. We all started with one email address. Then some people decided we need multiple addresses for different functions. So one option is you can use the same Gmail account to store all your, or you can create multiple accounts. Same case here. You could take one dot proof, fill up the credits and create as many proofs as you want. Or if you feel that there's some you want to create on a personal level and some for your company, in that case, you could take two different proof accounts and set up two different IDs, and you could separate it that way. But anyway, once you share the link with someone, they don't need to log in using anything. So once you've created it, even if you lose your proof account, the proof is not going to disappear. It remains on the chain.
Correct. But I was thinking of it from my perspective of knowing which proof to share with whom. Can you just open up your, for the last time, could you just open up your own account wherein we can show the users where they will be able to see their own content?
Sure, absolutely. Let me just share my screen. Okay, so I hope this is visible to all of you.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, right now we've created one here, so it's showing up here. But as you create more, it'll just show up one below the other. Correct. So every time you log into your account, even if you've created 10, you will see all 10 here.
Correct. And then you can decide. So for example, if you've got 10 photographs, 20 NDA agreements, so on and so forth, depending upon what kind of and what area of work you're in. You're a lawyer, you may have multiple documents over here. It'll be very easy for you to share. You just have to click on either the report or the details, depending upon what kind of information you want to share. If it's just a link, you'll just click on the details, look at the link, copy the link into the contract or the place that you want to share it at. Or if it's a report, you will click on that, see the certificate that has been given to you, download it and attach it the way and the place that you want to. So it's accessibility. The primary purpose is to make it easy for you to share this proof. It shouldn't be a complicated process, either for you as a user to create the proof, and secondly, for you as a user to share the proof, and lastly, for the person you're sharing this with to be able to verify what, when, and how you've done it. So that's the basic purpose with which we've created this product. Like I said, again, please try it out. Please share it with anybody and everybody who you think would be interested in knowing more about this product. We're very excited about it. Its use cases are absolutely unimaginable in terms of what we can come up with. So please share this as much as you can. Try it out. And most importantly, please take some time out to give us feedback in terms of how we can get this to work easier and more fluidly for your ease. Rohit, would you like to?
questions which have been posted. So, the first one is if I'm having trouble getting a patent for an algorithm related product in India, could I protect myself using blockchain? Would it give me the same protection as no? It would
No.
not give you the same level of protection as a patent. It's like I mentioned, for trademarks also. So a patent gives you different level of protection, but if you're not able to get a patent for this, definitely the proof would give you value. It wouldn't be as strong as a patent, I'll be honest, but it'll definitely give you value. Consider it to be a better version of a copyright, if at all we were to make that comparison. There's another one. Hold on. Okay, there were lots of questions which have gone up now. Yeah. How can I ascertain document does a relate to beyond the short description provided? So you get the hash, see the brief description. For anything else, you have to get access to the original document. That's something that the creator or someone who already has it can share it with you. But that's how the system is designed to maintain that confidentiality. Unless it is accepted by government or it becomes a norm, it's okay, sure. I mean, that's one way. So what happens is when they accepted by the government, are non-disclosure agreements accepted by the government? No, there's no law which specifically uses the word non-disclosure agreement, for example, but it's a contract, just like copyright is a concept. So it's the same way. Like I said, depends upon your use case. It asks for the, okay, there's lots of questions which seem to have gone up. Okay. It asks for the title of the proof while creating it. The title is included in the certificate. Yes, the title is included in the certificate. The four things that come in: the title, the creator's identifier, and a little bit about that document. Okay, perfect. If it is recognized by the GUI, so like I said, the product is launched today. So it's very early for me to talk about any kind of recognition. And it's not just restricted to India, it's global in nature. So whichever country in the world you're logging in from, well, copyright laws around the world are almost the same. So it works anywhere in the world. And we're hoping over a period of time, the matter would be brought up before relevant courts and they would talk about the authenticity of a blockchain proof. I hope that happens in the next year or so, maybe in 2020 itself. So awesome. It was great speaking to all of you. Have an awesome weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you so much, guys. And as usual, if you have any questions or queries, info@asianlaws.org is where you could reach out to us. We will try and reach out to you in terms of the people who had registered for the program. But if you've just accessed this YouTube live using the link, please feel free to reach out to me or to Rohas or any of us. And we'd be very happy to share with you our email IDs on which you can reach out to us. Thank you so much and have a fabulous weekend. Bye-bye.